Hey everyone, Yasin here, and in this video I wanted to talk about what I wish I knew about drawing arms and legs when I started. So to begin with, let me just draw some torsos. I'm gonna not be covering the torso at all in this video, but I just need some torsos so I can attach, arms and legs to them. So here's one. Let's do another from different view. All right. So this one's going to be more like a back view, and this one is more of a front view, and maybe we'll do a side view as well. All right. So we've got these three torsos, and now let's add some arms and legs to this. So when I was starting, as most people do, kind of drew the arms like sticks. Not obviously not that much, but like straight lines, and they would feel pretty stiff. They weren't really gestural. And then what I learned is to draw with gesture. And so what I was told is to draw like kind of like loose noodly shapes. And then you'll get more gesture in there, or like find the line of action and get that in there. And that was good. That helped for sure. But it wasn't like, one of the problems with it is, although it gives you gesture, it doesn't give you dimension. Like, you don't know how thick the arms are going to be once you flesh them out. And also, it always felt like they would be gestural when I first do them, like loosely, but then once I add the anatomy and stuff, it kind of got stiff again. So that was another issue. And then I came up with a technique called the lightning bolt technique. And that basically was where if you had a figure, usually it worked in the side view best, and you wanted to draw, you basically draw like a shape like this, like a lightning bolt, and you add some straights, and then you've got like the rough proportions of a leg in this case, or it works as well with an arm, like that. And that was okay, but the limitation of this was that in foreshortening, like when things are coming towards you, it doesn't really work. So to make up for that, I created the coil technique, which is, let's say I have a torso here, and I want this is like the pelvis area, and I want like this leg to come towards us. Basically, I would do these like coiling techniques, but I tried to go around the form and treat this as if I'm drawing over a 3D object, like that. And then you can like fill in the details, and it really helps to get a sense for things coming towards you. So that's good. But that's really like for foreshortened stuff. It doesn't really work for every pose. So I was kind of going between the lightning bolt technique and the coil technique. If this was going down, I could like, instead of going like this way, let's say I wanted that leg to bend down, I would use like coils that are going down like that. But anyway, so to make up for the weaknesses of these two, I invented another technique that I call the tentacle technique, which is basically when you draw an arm or a leg, you reduce it to like this tentacle shape. And this really kind of fleshed out the three the techniques. I was missing this one. But what this did when I figured this one out is I realized like, okay, so unlike noodle, you actually get thickness here. Like you get you know how thick to go. Unlike opposite Cs, which the lightning bolt technique is based off this concept called opposite Cs, which is basically if you have a gesture and you have a curve like for the thigh, then you'll get a curve for the calf and a straight for the shin, and the back of the thigh tends to be straight. And I just kind of thought, okay, well, why not just do this? It makes it faster. That's the opposite C technique. But again, it had some weaknesses. And then the coil technique, again, it's good for foreshortening, but not for other stuff. So with this tentacle technique, what it does is, first of all, it works this way for me. I'm not sure if it'll work this way for you, but it definitely helped me. When I see something on the page that's roughly correct, even if it's like quite off, but if it's generally in the right proportion, I can kind of look at it and see what needs to be there. Because I have terrible visualization. Like, I can't imagine anything. If I close my eyes and you say, imagine a pink elephant, it's like, there's nothing. There's black. There's no, nothing. So I need to create something on the page, and then I can look at it, and then I can like, oh, okay, well, that sort of looks like an arm. And if that was an arm, where would the elbow go? Where would like the shoulder and stuff go? So what this does is it gives me a general shape that I can now look at and evaluate. Like, okay, so roughly the arm is how long? And it's easier to do that by, for me anyway, like if I tried to draw from the shoulder and I wanted to draw this person like holding a can of something. Okay, so if I'm just drawing, starting from the shoulder and going down, maybe my drawing might look like, something like this. They're holding this can. And then it's like, okay, so here we have this person doing that. But it's kind of, I guess it works because I've done so many hands and stuff. But the issue is that it's kind of hard to gauge exactly how long these things need to be. And so what's easier for me is to look at this and imagine, like, if this person was holding a can, where would I want them to hold it? Maybe like here. Okay, so this is where the can is. And I always draw the object a person is holding first. Like if they were holding a ball, I'll draw the ball first, and then I'll draw them holding it. Okay, so there's the can, and like, how big would the hand be? Well, like, maybe this big. Okay, so now I've got the hand. Okay, so now I know the shoulder is like here, because that's where the shoulder is. I know the hand is here. So now by drawing like a tentacle shape, I've got a general idea of where the arm is going to be roughly. But of course that looks weird, right? Like, that's not what an arm really looks like. But when you draw the tentacle shape, you're not drawing the arm. You're drawing like some kind of guide to sort of help you. So when you do this, the way you do it is you start with a tentacle shape, and then you break it down. Shoulder, and then at the end is the hand. And then in the middle of this is going to be your elbow. So then I can connect this, and I kind of stay according to the borders that are with it. Like, it has to fit within this tentacle. Unless it was very muscular, then it might go outside. But generally, I fit within the tentacle. And then I've got like my arm placement. So for this, okay, I've got this rough guide. And now I'm going to put like the elbow halfway. And now I can connect these, and I'll have where my arm goes. And it kind of took care of the foreshortening because I knew the can was here, but if you're trying to draw things coming at you and you start here, like at the shoulder, and you go down, it's very often that you get very weird long, like way too long limbs. So instead, if you just think of where you want your hand to end up, and you kind of can ask yourself, well, how, you keep asking yourself these questions, like where would the arm be, or where would the hand be, how big would it be? You like do all this question and answer thing, and you try to imagine where these things would be, and then you draw them. Then it can help, and then you don't keep the tentacle, you like get rid of it. But now I have an arm in a position, and I can use the coil technique to sort of strengthen the foreshortening of that, which just kind of becomes a cross contour. But then now I can sort of have this this person holding this can. And you can really put it anywhere. Like you can move the tentacle and make any gesture really, so long as it's within the limits of the human body. So let's say we want to draw this leg. Okay, well, let's just shrink this a bit so I can draw the leg. So what I would do if I was drawing this character and I was drawing their leg is first I would look at this torso and I would say, you know, roughly where would how long would the legs be, or like where would the feet hit the ground if this person was standing on the ground? And my feeling is like here. And again, it's just a feeling. I'm not measuring. I'm kind of, it sort of requires intuition, but it trains your intuition. So then I can say, okay, so roughly I'm going to have like one leg here, and then what's the other leg going to be doing? Well, maybe it's like, maybe this leg is kind of doing this. Okay, so now I've got this rough tentacle that has gesture in it. See, because I'm using a curved shape like this, it has gesture. And it also has a border, like it has dimensions where I have to fit the leg within, like try to fit the leg within this shape. So then I would go, okay, so here we have a tentacle, here we have a tentacle. Well, okay, halfway from here to here is pretty easy. So we get the knee like here, and then here, well, the knee's like around there, halfway. So now we have that shape. So now it's just a matter of like connecting these elements. So draw the leg here, and you do need to know anatomy to do this properly, and you know, could talk about that more. I think I have some videos covering it, but I think, you know, for this I'm just doing the general shapes, and then this leg comes back, this comes out, then you have the foot here. So I'm not going to be drawing this in the hands and feet tutorial, so I'm just drawing the arms and the leg. But now I have where this leg goes, I can get rid of any excess. And usually the original tentacle, like the muscles or the fat or whatever, you try to stay within that tentacle. So see here, the original tentacle was in this area, and I basically stayed within it. And then, you know, you just get rid of the excess that you don't need. And if you draw this light enough, like, let's draw this light, draw the tentacle, then you don't really need to worry about erasing as long as it's light enough. That one was not, because I want it to show up, so you know, maybe I'll draw like that. It's pretty light. So here, it's really the way I get my proportions and gesture down. Now, there's one thing that's very, like one of the most common things the common mistakes I see when I try to explain this, and then I see, you know, maybe I'll teach my students and then they'll do drawings. One of the things they keep getting wrong is that at the end of the tentacle, you don't put a hand, and at the end of the tentacle, you don't put a foot. So let's draw basic torso shape. Head. All right, so what I mean is, let's say this is a tentacle shape. This is a tentacle shape. And I'm using my intuition to figure out, like, you know, how far down would this go? What you don't want to do is like, here's my tentacle, and now here's a hand at the end of the tentacle. No, this is not what you do. The way it works is the hand is within this tentacle shape. So this keeps the gesture, and it also is kind of how it works. Like if you, I don't know, I've looked at my own arm and stuff, and it looks like, you know, there is this tapering as it goes down. But it's not like it tapers and then you have a hand. It tapers and then you get a wrist. So let's just draw. Here you get the wrist, and then you get the rest of the hand. So the hand goes outside of the tentacle shape, but you know, generally it's about it follows. So that's how I do it. You keep the arm inside that shape, or I mean the length of it, and the same is true for the leg. If we give this guy legs, you know, boop, boop, boop. So for the I was drawing mostly females before, so for males you want to give a bit more space between the legs generally. You could draw them fatter, but the point is that this torso connection going into the legs, you kind of want it a bit more boxy, like that, whereas for female you kind of want it a bit more like that shape. So we got the legs. So what we don't do is we don't add feet to this like that. That's not what you want to do. I mean, you can just see how it immediately kills all the gesture. You want the feet to be, you know, within this. And now it's gonna keep that gesture. And also, what I'm doing when I draw the end of the tentacle thing is, again, I'm not drawing tentacles. Like this isn't octopus people. This is just kind of like a guide to help you to see, you know, what things. I don't know why I'm spending so much time. Anyway, it's just a thing to help you to see things better. And it may work for you, it may not. You know, there's different ways of drawing the arms and the legs. This way really worked for me. And it helped me to pretty consistently draw arms and legs. Now there's a bunch of sort of detail things that are also helpful to know. So let me go through some of those really quick. I might need to make these in a more in-depth tutorial, or just cover this stuff a bunch of times, because I realize I tend to like make one video and then it teaches a technique, and then I don't really teach that again because it's like, oh, I made that video. But I think in like a normal school environment, you would get repetition over and over again. So I'm gonna try to repeat myself more. Okay, so the other things I want to teach is, let's say you have the upper leg and the lower leg. How do they connect? So you may have seen things like this where you simplify the upper leg as a cylinder and the lower leg. And if you can kind of see the tentacle thing, you can see that tentacle, you know, foot goes there. But anyway, not talking about the tentacle right now, but how do these connect? Well, the way I like to connect it is like sort of like this mechanical thing where, let's say this was the upper leg shape. You've got like this, I don't know what you call it, like that shape. And then the lower leg has the opposite. It fits into this. And you've got like a ball kind of in the middle of that. So this is the knee. This is the back of the knee. This is the side. And this is the other side of the thigh. So you've got these two connections. And you could kind of imagine it if it was like an action figure or, you know, a mannequin or something, how these two sort of fit in. So if your leg bends, this part, gonna shade in the lower leg, is darker. I mean, I'm shading it darker, but that's just to represent the lower leg. So you can see how the knee, I consider it part of the lower leg. And what that means is if you bent your leg like this, the knee is like part of this, and the thigh comes down, would come down like this, and you'd have that circle in the middle. Then you'd have like a butt here, and so you get this type of shape. And that's just like how to think about it. Of course, you know, you'd actually draw. You wouldn't be drawing all these things, but that's how I think about it. So the main point here is that that part I kind of consider the knee, like this part I consider part of the lower leg. This knee part I consider part of the lower leg, and it helps me with bending, because you don't want it where it's the other way around, where the knee is part of the upper leg, because then you would have like a knee coming out like that, you know, and it wouldn't bend properly. So knee is part of the like in general, you think about it as part of the lower leg, and then this part, if this leg went up, would do this. Come like this, like that. And then again, in the back of the leg, I think of that again as the lower leg. So you've got these two connecting puzzle pieces, I guess you could think of it like that. You know, one has terrible drawing, sorry. One has two things in the front and one has two on the side. So, you know. Make sense? So, why that's important is, well, just it helps when you draw, you know, the tentacle things, and you want to know where things go. I mean, you can sort of know, like, let's say this leg was coming like this and then going like that. So again, I keep my things super rough and loose. You may think it's ugly, but, you know, I'm not ending here. This is just where I start. I get like the gestures down. So let's say we have this gesture, the leg doing this. Okay, so if I have, let me just quickly talk about something that I neglected to talk about. But if you have a curve, it's always going to look fine if you follow that curve and you put points like at the ends and you connect them with straight lines. These are always going to feel fine. Whereas if you just start drawing straight lines without curves, like outside of a curve, this can feel awkward very quickly, because if you're a little bit off with these, they just don't work. Whereas if I start like this, and then I put my points, and then I connect them, it tends to always feel good. Now you can say like, well, any 3 points you could connect with a curve, but this type of curve is not what I'm talking about. This type of curve is like hard for the hand to do, whereas these curves are easy. So here I've created this like easy curve, this flowy curve. Okay, so now I know butt's here, knee is here, ankle is like here, and as I mentioned before, the foot is part of this tentacle. So let's say, heel goes like that, and then there we have a foot, and then here can flesh this out now. The knee, again, part of the lower leg, and then the thigh comes here. This comes around. So now I can like pretty effectively draw that leg, and then all the messy stuff, you can get rid of it either by drawing it on its own layer, which is usually what I do, or just, erasing it if you were doing it traditionally. Or if you just draw very lightly, it won't show that much once you draw darker lines. So now I have, and this isn't too much, but now I have like the leg, and this is where the knee is, and that's kind of how I think of it. So what else? I mean, mostly that's it for the general principles. I'm not teaching like anatomy here. So let's say here, let's just draw an arm, tentacle goes down, end of the tentacle is where the hand like ends, not where it starts. So like the actual hand might be here, thumb might be there. Okay, and then for the hand, let me redraw that, I wasn't happy with it. There. For the arm, the part that I think goes into the other part is like, because we showed with the leg, right? The part goes in, this goes like that, and then this goes like that. The bicep comes down and it sort of inserts into the lower arm. So it's the opposite for the upper arm, where this part inserts into like I guess the upper arm would be the one where the middle is going down into this side thing. It's really confusing for me to explain, but I hope you get it, because it's kind of like visually it makes sense. So if that's the front, then the side would be like this. And that's the leg, front, side, and for the arm, it would be that the front, if this is the bicep, and it goes in like that, and then the rest of the arm goes down like that. And this is the elbow, and the elbow is part of the elbow is part of the lower arm, the same way the knee is part of the upper arm. So when this turns, like when you move, like the elbows here, as you move it, it goes with the lower arm part like this. And that's the upper arm going down like that. Then the elbow is bending with the lower arm, and what that does is it gives you a shape that does this, like the arm goes around like this, and then it kind of has this down thing, this bump for the elbow. So that's how I think about it. And you've got the hand here. So, you know, just to make sure this doesn't keep going on and on, that's basically it. Start with tentacle things, get the knee, the hip, and the ankle or shoulder, elbow, and hand. Break it down into straights for like the connections. Flesh it out, but try to stay within this border. Keep the hand within this. In this case, it's a hand. Could have drawn it with the leg, but anyway. And erase all the extra stuff you don't need. And when I do figure drawings and things like that, this really helps because it's just fast. Like, eventually you internalize it, and then you can kind of draw it without needing so much guidance with all the like things. But you know, it still can be helpful to draw with tentacles and stuff. But you know, if you draw fast and enough, like if you draw a lot is what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I have no brain right now. But if you draw a lot, this kind of gets easier. It also, again, really helps for, say I'm drawing legs coming towards us. I can like say, well, the feet are here, the knee is here and here, and then I could use a coil technique to go back, get the thighs, and then draw the rest of the leg coming at us. That would be flatter because it's pressed against whatever it's sitting on. And now we have a person sitting down, sitting on the toilet. All right. So yeah, that's how to draw hands and legs, or what I wish I knew about drawing hands and legs when I started. I hope it helps, and thanks for watching.